Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today, in this lecture on the organization development, we are going to cover the topic of the resistance to change. The topics that we are going to cover today are we will just see what do we mean by the resistance to change, what are the major factors that affect the success of the change program. We will also see the model of change, causes of the resistance, that includes the driving forces and the restraining forces. And this topic will end with the strategies to overcome the resistance to change, the 5-stage model of resistance to change. So we will just try to cover these topics. Let's begin. First of all, when we talk about the change, so as you can see on the screen, this is basically if you see the nature of the change, that is, it talks about the changing the existing state into the future state. So any phenomena that converts the situation from the current state or from the one state of affairs to another state of affairs. Okay, that transition, we say it a change. And second thing regarding the change is that the change is a constant in the organization settings. These changes are, there are different, the factors, and there are the different types. There are different kinds of the changes that constantly occur in the organization. So while managing these changes, there is a possibility, there is the occurrence of the resistance. So in today's lecture, we are going to see what is the nature of that resistance, right? And how to cover that, how to handle that resistance. So when we talk about the change in the organizations, so we come across the different factors. There are the factors that resides within the organizations, and there are the factors that resides outside the organization. And these are the factors that drive the organization to carry on the change. There may be the competitive forces. There may be some kind of you can say the improvement in the work. It can be might be the external pressure. So there are a number of ways, number of reasons. So generally the forces that comes under the internal factors in the organization. They are, for example, in the form of they are found in the form of the employees. That may be the kind of the culture of the organization. Culture of the organization. The employees, when we talk about the employees, it means the characteristics of the employees. Characteristics of and these characteristics include in their skills, okay, their demographics, okay, their values, the culture they belong, their norms, their culture, all these things, their work experience. These are the characteristics the employees. Okay, similarly, the kind of the products and the services, right? Similarly, the you can say the mission of the organization, the mission, the goals, okay, their objectives. So all these things. Another thing that is included in the mission objective is like, for example, their orientation, organization orientation. So what is their approach? Similarly, another thing that is that covers in it is the type of the organization, okay, its structure, the products it deals, so all these things. So in the external factors, we come across all the forces that are residing outside the organization, both in the task environment and in the general environment. The task environment, the major forces are those that are, also a part of the stakeholders that directly deals with the organization. They are directly interact with the organization in the form of the suppliers, form of the distributors, in the form of the customers. So they are very important. The forces that are, that exist in the task environment. Similarly, in the general environment, we have the political forces, we have the economic forces, we have the international environment. So all those factors that reside outside the organization, they make the external. So when we say changes, to occur in the organization, so generally we talk about the changes in the form of the work pattern of the employees, individual values. They have to change their work values. They might affect their, change their habits. They might affect their reasons. Their beliefs while working in the organization based on the experience they have gained in there during in the organization. Okay, so there are these changes, these environmental forces make in other words, in simple words, these environmental forces make organizations change their inside workings of the organization. And these sometimes become the main sources of the resistance. And these changes in the work patterns, the tendency to change the individual values, its tendency to change the habits, and the reasons of the employees' beliefs, working beliefs, that becomes the source of the resistance. And when we say the resistance, generally the basic concept is that the human beings, they resist change. They resist the change. Okay? So generally employees who are settled in the organizations, who are settled in their working styles, who are settled in their working positions, who are settled in their work patterns. Okay? So they have the certain habits. They are quite happy with it. They don't want to change those things. And those changes, when they perceive that these changes are going to occur, and they have to change, they have to bring the change in these things, they generally resist. Okay, so this is the basic reason that generally we see the organizations face the resistance in the organization. Again, if you see this resistance, if the changes are at the smaller scale, so generally like department level or at the smaller scale. So these are the manageable and good management style. One can easily manage these. But however, if changes are at the large scale, okay, large scale it is affecting the many variables in the organization. It affects the many elements in the organization, many components of the organization, parts of the organization. So in that way, in that case, there is a visible resistance. You find the high level of resistance in that. So similarly, these changes, these environmental forces, they when they is required that the changes are to be made. So those changes are, done at the two levels. One is the personal level and other is the organizational level. In the personal level, they have to, as we have already discussed, they have to change their values, they have to change their work pattern, they have to change their working styles. Okay, so they might change their routine, they might change their, you can say the set, to say the social network. They might change their formal and formal structure. They might change their informal setup. So there are the changes that are occurred that are held at the personal level. Similarly, at the organizational level, these changes also occur. Again, there might be the processes might be changed, or there need to be something, might be new technology might come in, and in that case, in that way, the employees has to learn that new technology, new working style, and these kind of things. So at the both level, basically, if you see the nature of the resistance, both at the personal and the organization level, you find one thing which is common, and that is the status quo, the change in the existing work pattern, the change in the existing situation, existing setup. So both in the organizational level and at the personal level, at the individual level, okay, there is a resistance due to the changes into the existence, to the existing structure, existing status quo, you can say, or the existing work patterns. So organization development, OD practitioner has to understand one thing, that before implementing the change program, he has to assure, he has to understand, and he has to manage the resistance that might occur, while conducting that change program. So that is why understanding this resistance, the nature of this resistance, is very important. Okay, next we are going to see what are the factors that affect the success of the change program. So generally we come across the advocates of the change, the people who are bringing the change agents, the degree of the change, the time frame, its impact on the culture, and the evaluation of the. So advocates of the change mean basically those who are interested to bring the change, those who are bringing the change. They may be the CEO of the organization, they may be the heads of the organization, and all this. Okay, so these people are very important. So it depends upon on their, on the advocates. If you see, and those who are bringing the change, if they are effective, okay, they can bring the change. Effective in the way that the people, on the people or the employees of the organization on which this change is being occurring, who are going to adopt this change, how much they are, they this person has the ability, this advocate has the ability to influence those people, influence the employees of the organization, or those who are going to adopt this change. So for in that case, you can see there are a number of things that this advocate has to. He has to be, trustable. Okay? He has the influence in the form of he has the formal authority. He's like, for example, if he is the CEO or the head of the department, he definitely have some formal authority, formal influence. Okay? He has the authority to, give the, you can say, incentives to the subordinates or the incentives to the employees for accepting or for adopting. He has authority to, I mean, even do the punishment. I mean, he can exercise the punishment, exercise that. Okay. So here's that formal part. So similarly, in the case of the informal authority, how much he is, I mean, the trustable, how much he has the ability to, I mean, to communicate with these people, I mean, able to convince these people, able to talk with these, I mean, make them understand about these changes. You know, when there are the changes in the organization to occur, there is a need of the high level of communication. Okay? And that communication ability and that interpersonal that calls for the interpersonal skills. And if this advocate has those skills and he has the influence, he is able to exercise that influence. He's able to convince his subordinate. He's able to convince the employees of the organization. So there's a more chances that he will be successful. But on the other hand, if the advocate is not able, or I mean, he's not trustworthy. He's no. You can say the employees are not trusting him, or he has not the ability to, I mean, communicate properly with the employees of the organization, with these employees, with these people. So there are the less chances that their successful change, the success of the successful change might occur. May occur. The first one was the advocates of the change, the one who is bringing the change. Second one is the degree of the change. I mean, what is the scope of the change? Is it a large scale change, or is it a small scale change? Whether it's only the few number of variables in the organizational elements are being changing, or there are the large number of the whole organization is being affected. And when we say the effect of the organization, it may affect on anything. That might be, I mean, the work patterns. That might be I mean, the new work processes. That might be the new organizational structure. And that might be the new administration. Sometime in the case of mergers or these kind of things. So there are, it depends, I mean, what is the level of the change. Okay, so if there is a high level of change, degree of the change is high, the resistance will be high. If the degree of the change is low, so the resistance will also be highly likely that resistance would be. Okay, next one is the time frame. This is also an important factor, the time frame, as you know that generally when the changes are occurred, if you have the enough time, then it is quite easily, I mean, the change is manageable. Change program can be successfully implemented. So there is a concept of the smooth, there is a concept of the smooth or the gradual transition. And for the smooth and the gradual transition, you need to have the enough time, ample of the time, so that you can bring that. But in the case of if there is the less, I mean, the lesser time, I mean, you have the less time and you are bringing you can say the kind of the radical change, okay, and time is short. So sometimes it becomes you can say, difficult for the organization to, I mean, control that resistance, I mean, to manage the resistance. High level of resistance also emerged with. Sometimes in the organization, the situations come that you have to do some radical changes. But in that case, according to this topic, today's topic, it is recommended that the organization or the manager who is bringing the change, he has to have the clear understanding what is the nature of the change, and what is it radical, or I mean, the time is there, it is not a crisis situation, or either it is a crisis situation. Then he has to I mean, prepare himself both mentally and with the resources that he can handle the possible resistance. Okay, so he can prepare himself to face that resistance. Okay, so time frame is another factor. Next one is the impact on the culture. So that is no doubt, this is very, very important thing. I mean, when we say about the culture mean all the things, your norms, the values, okay, the habits, the demographics, and all these things. That is a part of the, of the culture. Okay? The behavior pattern of the employees of the organization, the languages they speak, the dress they use, the habits, their working styles, and again it varies from the type of the organization. Okay, it varies from organization to organization. In the government sector, their work patterns, their working styles are different, and that of the market-oriented organization. There's a high level of, in the private sector, there's a high level of the competition. So there, the working patterns would be quite, the different, and there as compared to those of the government organization. Similarly, might be you can say in the organization, if the compensation is like, for example, or the promotion is based on the of based on the time and all these things, whereas in the might be possible that in the private sector, those promotion or that compensation might be the, you can say, the performance based, right? Performance based mean on the basis of the performance you promote your employees. So it depends on the type of the organization. So when we talk about the culture, okay, so culture mean what is the corporate culture? What is the the organization culture? How the organization is have the setup, have the set of the the working norms. What are the working values? What are the the behavior of the employees? So all these things. So impact, if there is a change that is changing these patterns, these value system of the organizational employees. So there is a chance that the high level of resistance might. So if there is a less impact on these changes, for example, if you just say that the employees have to be to show their regularity. Okay, if you want to change the the regularity of the, or if you want that the timing of the, you want to set the timings of the, they should be, to reach the organization in time and all these things. So there is not much impact on the culture or the work pattern. That is quite manageable. But however, if you change, you have to, to change bring the change in their habits and the working style, suddenly change from one mode to another mode, and so drastically. So there is the possibility, their values and their setup might be affected. Okay? So in that case, in that situation, there is a highly likely that the resistance might occur. Okay? Okay, next comes the evaluation of the change. By evaluation of change, we mean when the manager or when the organization or the OD practitioner bring the change in the organization will implement the change program. If he is not evaluating the impact of that change, if he is not evaluating how much change has been occurred, okay, so this is useless. Okay, then it is no use of. He cannot design the proper strategy, a proper change strategy. He cannot modify the proper change, his change strategy. Suppose you give the training to the employees and you are expecting that this change in their behavior might occur. And if you are not calculating that, if you are not measuring that how much behavioral change has been occurring on those employees who are getting the training, so that is useless activity. Okay, so it is recommended that it is highly recommended that the evaluation of the change, that is the most important factor while bringing the change program. So advocates of the change, those who are bringing the change, the degree of the change, its scope, okay, its impact, the level of impact, and the time frame, and the culture, impact on the culture, and the evaluation of change. So all these five forces, five factors makes the mix of the, they define the success, the possibility of the success of the change program. But you can also say it also defines, it also describes the possible resistance that might occur, that might, rise during the change program. Okay, next one is the how can we see that the how much what kind of the resistance might occur. For this we have this model of the change that I'm going to here for you. According to this model, there are one is the degree of the change at the x-axis, degree of change. Okay, and here suppose they are they are checking the, suppose they keep the variable like example impact on the culture. If you want to see, if you want to check this factor, the impact of the culture, okay, to explain this model, we are using these two, impact of the culture and the degree of the change. This is the highest level and this is the lowest level. This is the lowest level and this is the. So according to this model, we have the four possibilities. Quadrant number 1, quadrant number 2, quadrant number 3, and there is. In this way, in this case, the impact on the culture is low, and the degree of change is here. Impact of culture is low, and the degree of change is high. Here in this case, impact on culture is high, but the degree of change is low. In this case, impact of culture and the degree of change both are at the highest level. Definitely, when the both are higher, okay, degree of change is higher. It might be the reason. I mean, that may be any reason. So in that case, the resistance would be higher. And if the impact on the culture and the degree of change is lower, then the resistance would be lower. All right. Whereas in these two cases, there will be some resistance. There will be possibility of some resistance. But that resistance is manageable. That can be managed by the good management, by the efficient management techniques. Like here in this case, if the degree of the change is higher, but the impact of if the culture is low, that can be manageable. Similarly, here in this case, impact of the culture is higher, but the degree of change is low. That is again a manageable case. So this is the the model that tells us if you just put the any variable here, and you can check that variable with the you can put the two variables, degree of change and impact of the culture. You can see what kind of the resistance might occur. So according to the organization situation, you can find that where your organization might, what the situation is. Okay, what kind of the resistance is there that might have to be, faced by the organization, and how to manage that resistance. So before implementing the change program, the effective use of this model is generally recommended. Okay, moving on. After this, our next topic is now we are going to see what are the forces, as you have seen in the previous class that when we have studied the force field analysis model. In that model, we have seen that there are the two forces. One are the driving forces, and one are the restraining forces. Okay, based on the situation. So it is the same thing. We are going to see what are the restraining forces, okay, towards the acceptance of the change program, and what are the driving forces towards the acceptance of the change program. So first we will see what are the driving forces. The first driving force that might support the change program is the dissatisfaction from the existing situation. A situation here, I mean the work situation. Second one is the external pressure towards the change. External pressure, external pressure towards the change. All right. Third one is the momentum towards change. And last one is the motivation for the. So these are the, there are other forces as well, but generally these are the important ones that we are going to discuss here. First, we will see what are the dissatisfaction from the existing situation. Dissatisfaction here we mean the person, the employees in the organization. Sometimes it is possible that the employees already know, what is the problem in the organization. And they might have, they want that the change need to be had, to be occur, and they are mentally prepared for that. They want that sometimes there are the situations in the organization. Sometimes there is might be the might be there is some politics. There might be some group conflicts. There may be some the you can say the changes in the structure is required. Might be the organization is not performing properly. Might be organization is not competitive. So okay, so all these things and the mix of all these problems sometimes develop the realization in the mind of the employees that they are already they want that there is a need to be change. If that is a situation, that is a, you can say here, a driving force that is helpful for the OD practitioner to bring the change in the organization. On the basis of that dissatisfaction, an OD practitioner can very easily convince the, you can say convince the people, convince the employees of the organization that the change program is going to overcome their concerns. But it is not necessarily that the whole organization is showing the dissatisfaction. Sometimes there are, it might be the portion of the employees or the group of the employees who are satisfied. Might be they are getting based on some informal, you can say the networking, informal setup, informal, you can say the grouping. They might, the one group is feeling that they are quite, they are satisfied, whereas the other members might not feel not feel satisfied. So when we see the composition, or the, you can say the chemistry of this satisfaction and dissatisfaction dilemma, basically satisfaction and dissatisfaction is generally, you can say, that is the struggle for the, you can say, the benefits, struggle for their, the self benefits based on their, you can say, generally we come across the promotion matters there, we come across the things related to the employees. These are the, the attitudes of the supervisors and their career growth and all these things. Whereas similarly, if you see that at the organization level, the changes, if the organization is not properly, you can say, coping with the competition, not able to, attract the more customers, is not, on the, on the development path. Okay? It is not progressing. Okay, it's not, gaining more market share. Rather, it is losing the market. So in that way, in that case, the employees are directly affected, right? So might be the employees who are, the portion of the employees might be, or the employees might want that there is a need to change in the policies. There is a need to change in the structure. There is a need. They might need some more training. So all these things. So there are what I mean to say is there is a factor that exists in the form of the dissatisfaction from the existing situation. So that can be used very effectively as a positive force by the OD practitioner to bring the change. Sometime you have seen, you might have experienced that when the bosses are changed, okay, or you can say if the boss is changed based on any reason in the organization, you might find that if the situation is that if the boss feels that he needs some time to get him settled in the new in that position, based on the might be the loyalty of the employees with the existing management. So there is a chance that might be there is some kind of the resistance from the employees. So the one of the techniques that those managers use is they in the early days, they when they communicate with all the employees, they try to find those people. So their general question is, okay, what's your issues? What is your problem? So basically, what he is doing is he is trying to find the dissatisfaction factor in the employees. He just pick those individuals. He may pick those points, and on the basis of those points, sometimes if he's not picking that those individuals who are dissatisfied, rather he's picking the reasons of their dissatisfaction. He might start working on those reasons just to get the loyalty of the employees towards towards him. So these are the techniques that are used while bringing the change, while bringing the any change in the organization. Okay, second important factor is the external pressure towards the change. In the external pressures, here the external pressure mean the environmental pressures. Okay, the pressures based by it may be the factor that exists in the environment. Sometimes, for example, if you see the situation these days, the COVID situation. In the COVID situation, the organization were forced to do the lockdown. Organization were forced to do downsize their employees. They were forced to, you can say, their sales they have been reduced. They were forced to use their employees and downsize this. And they are execute to do the downsizing. And similarly, they have to change their working routine as well. It is as you know that it was advised that half of the employees come on one day and another half might come on the shift of the employees should be set on the alternate days and all these things. So this has changed, but that change was if the organization is even not willing to do that, but they have to do it. Okay, and if they exercise this rule, this order, and that they feel that the employees resist this thing, the employees cannot resist because they can very easily because it is an external pressure, because it is some environmental change. So we are executing this change, we are bringing up this change. So that can sometimes also become the supportive force, the driving force. Okay, so external pressures toward the change, it may be in the form of the economic pressure, it may be in the form of the social pressure, it may be sometimes you can say uh, when the organization go for the mergers, okay, when they have the number of options, they might go for the downsizing. If the organization is performing well, they might go for the downsizing, or you can say the right sizing, or they might go for the mergers as well, or they can have the sale the portion of their organization. So there are a number of ways, there are a number of strategies that the organizations. In that case, in that situation, one of the resistance is highly likely. So to overcome that resistance, one of the good justification, one of the good reason for the efficient manager or for the efficient change OD practitioner is to come up with this idea of the external pressure. Okay? So if you are able to find the reason of the external pressure for bringing that change, so that can also become the supportive force. Next one is the momentum towards the change. Okay, when we talk about the momentum towards the change, it means if you see the definition of the momentum, if you just recall the physics that you have studied in your early classes, like there was the concept of the momentum. If I'm not wrong, it's I think the formula was something like this: the mass was uh, the velocity, something like this. Okay, so it is something which is moving, and its mass as you can say it the mass and its speed, mass and its speed, they create the force. Together they create the force. So if some body is moving with certain speed, so it creates the force. For example, the example that is given here in this case is, suppose if you just catch the cricket ball, it's smaller in size, but it comes with the speed you can easily handle. But if you just see, if the same thing, if anything bigger with the same speed come to you, it might take you as well. So that is the basically the concept of the momentum. So mass carries the force when it moves. Like if any moving vehicle, it is difficult to stop the moving vehicle, like car or anything. So you need to exercise. You have to exert the brakes. The same momentum, the concept of the momentum works here in this situation. When the change is occurred, and if the one person is following the change or 2% are following the change, those two might change other two. Okay, the 2 makes the 4 and 4 makes the 8 and 8 makes the 16 and all these things. So it is based on that change is based on the momentum. Okay, the social momentum, you can say, you may use this word, the social momentum. Like for example, it is also human nature that you might have observed that most of the people adopt other. I mean, the change, they adapt the change based on the acceptance of the others. If someone is, if you might have you students might have observed this thing. If some person is using certain, start wearing certain kind of dresses in the university, after a few days you see the other people also start wearing those dresses. So that is, I mean to say, the change after viewing on the basis of others. So if the change is held, is brought in the organization, and few people follow that change, and those few people in the form of the momentum also makes other people to change. And then in this way, this phenomena goes on, and a good number of people, a large number of people might accept the change. So that is, I mean to say, the OD practitioner has to take care of this concept of the momentum as well while bringing the change. Okay, next one is the momentum for the motivation for the change. So this is also a very important point. Motivation, what I mean is when anyone is changing, when anyone is adopting the change in the organization, one of the reasons that comes, one of the point that comes in the mind is that what is in it for me? Okay, I have accepted the change. What is in it for me? Okay, so that idea might come in, point might come in his mind. So the good OD practitioners or the good managers, what they do is when they bring the change, okay, when they bring the work processes, when they when they there's a need to to do the training, to launch the trainings for the employees for the new systems. So to overcome that resistance, they generally bring some motivators in it. Motivator in the form of the financial motivator, they might give them some incentive, they might give them some, the promotion. So in this way, so you can take the example. I can give you the example here. In the organizations, generally this practice is made, and that, for example, if any organization is they want that their employees should be good in the MS Office and all these things. Office automation tools, so that their work performance can be improved. They can easily work on the computer and all the emailing, so the Word and PowerPoint and all these things. So one possibility is they say their individuals to, okay, learn these softwares. Okay, but if, and another way is that they give them the incentive while giving this order, that not only the one who will learn these software, and he will bring the proof of his learning in the form of the training, in the form of the certificate. Okay, there he will get some rise in the salary. He will get some promotion. He might get some rise in his grades. Okay, he might be eligible for the next grade promotion. So there are the number of reasons. So these kind of the incentives. So this motivation is generally created or developed by the top management, and generally these organization development changes are generally held by the top management. Okay, they are the driving force behind this. So if there is a motivation, okay, and there is a motivation, in the form of the extrinsic reward to these people who are showing the resistance, so then it's good. But there is another factor of the intrinsic motivation also. So and a manager can also target both intrinsic motivation and also the extrinsic motivation. So this was all for this topic. So the four factor: dissatisfaction of the existing situation, external pressure towards the change, momentum towards the change, and the motivation for the change. So both intrinsic and extrinsic motivation for the change, that also reduce the pressure. So keeping an eye, noting these things, or focusing on these things, makes the change program successful. All right. After this, next we are moving towards the restraining forces. When we talk about the restraining forces, these are the forces that are, to say, that are creating the resistance in the change programs. Understanding these forces is also important, okay, before launching the change program. The first and the most important one that is the fear of, you can say the comfort zone. Comfort, uncertainty, due to the comfort zone. So understanding the comfort zone is basically you can say a situation in which the employees of the organizations are you can say they live for some time. Okay, employees are in the form of their it might be their positions, it might be their ranks, it might be their work locations, it might be their work situations. Okay, it may be their you can say the work patterns, the style, the way they work. So there are many things. The person or the employee who is in a certain work situation, he feels, he is quite accommodating. He is quite adaptable to that. He has adopted that situation, and he has set his life according to that. He has set his life according to that. He has accepted that life, work life. Okay, he has accommodated his personal life or the family life with that life, work life. Sometimes people change their residence and they go near, they start living near their workplace. Okay, so that is basically the adjustments. Okay, they have their school, the children studying in the school, in the schools nearby. So all these things. Okay, so this is you can say a comfort zone. Another example is might be for you students, if that the way, the track, the path or the roads that you use while coming to the university or while going to the offices. You generally follow the same track, the same way daily. Okay, you don't like to change any of it. So that is basically the comfort zone. So individuals or the human or the employees or the workers in the organization, they have their comfort zone. Okay? So they don't want to change their comfort zone. When there is the risk of changing then they hear that their comfort zone is going to be disturbed, their comfort zone is going to be changed, so they resist. It is natural. So understanding about the formation of or the composition, or you can say the characteristics of the comfort zone of the employees, that is very important for the organization or the practitioner. Okay? So one of the fear is this comfort zone. Okay, what would be the new situation? Might be my children might affect their school if you are changing your employee, might you change the employee to the another place. Okay, so he will resist. Similarly, often in the organization in the last 1 or 2 decades, it has been observed that the employees organization has computerized themselves. They have brought the information technology into their work processes. Okay, with that, a lot of changes are held in the organization. The transformation held, the structural changes has been held in the organization. Okay, so employees has to change accordingly. If you see the banks, today's bank from that of the banks worked 20 years back, they are quite different. Their working style is quite. Okay. So these changes there were many. They, you can find examples of these kind of the resistance there, which are based on the comfort zone. All right. So this is the first, you can say, first factor, that the first force that is creating the resistance. Second one is the similar to that. These are all, you can say, kind of the similar kind of a things like fear of unknown. Fear of unknown. When the change will held and someone is going to accept that change, it means he is going from the present situation to the new situation. And that is the new situation is to him, it is unknown at present. It is unseen at present. Okay. And that unknown and that unseen makes it the uncertain. And that uncertainty creates the fear in it. The fear of unknown that also creates the resistance in the organization. Similarly, this fear of unknown and this new situation might create the not only the comfort zone plus also change the their disruption in existing routine. So it covers many things. All the routines of the employees are changes. Okay. So if that is manageable for the employees, he might accept the change, but if it is not manageable, so sometimes that creates the high level. Similarly, another thing that comes to the mind is the loss of benefits. Okay, the question might ask by the employee, what is in it for me? What's in it? Why I am accepting this change? What advantage I would have out of this? Okay, is it giving me some career boost? Is it giving me some the financial benefit? Or it is giving me some the skill improvement or whatever? So these kind of the work related things. So he might think. Okay. So loss of benefit, that is also also the factor. Another one is the threat to the security. Threat to security. Security doesn't mean here the physical security kind of a thing. Like here the security mean the the you can say it's a kind of the fear or the loss in the form of the loss to his existing living. Okay, existing work styles, existing work-life balance. Got my point? So these are the things basically that we generally cover in it. Okay. Similarly, that is on his personal level. Similarly, in the organization level, the working group, that also creates a threats to the employee in the form of if someone is attached with some work group members and he is working with them a number of years and he has quite good understanding with them and he understands each other very well. They are good. So there is a work pattern or the work norms are set there. If the employee has been shifted to the new work groups, so there is the possibility might be there is a lack of conflicts might occur, might be the lack of interest might occur, might be there is a lack of anything, threat to his culture, threat to his norm, threat to his anything to his any factor might occur there. So this kind of the security we generally consider in this point, right? Okay, next one is the yes, another thing is the related to the security is the job security. That is also the covered in that in the previous one. Threat to the security, job security mean if might be he an employee is quite good in his existing present work situation, based on his skill, based on his experience. Might be, suppose you just transfer the employee to the computerized accounting system, okay, whereas he is quite good in the manual accounting system. So he might feel the threat to his job. He might think that he might not perform well as he is good in the existing system or the manual system. So there might be the reason he might lose the job. He might not perform properly there. All right. Similarly, if you see in the organization, most of the employees in the government sector, when they have to think about going into the private sector, they generally hesitate. They hesitate just because they feel that they are not that competitive as compared to the employees who are in the private sector. So if he has to move to the private sector, so they might not be successful. So these kind of the elements of security that might be the reason of the resistance. Okay, next one is the threat to the position power. Threat to the position power. Position power mean here both informal and the formal. Okay? When an organization an employee in the organization has the two kind of, you can say, the authorities, you can say, or two kinds of this. One is his authority based given to him on the basis of his formal capacity, and another one is based on the people working around him. Okay, he has the informal authority also in his, and that you can say a kind of the position power for him. For the person who is a clerk in an organization, and but that clerk is you can say the attached with the very senior officer, you can say the DG. Okay, so he has this he is enjoying this position because he has the I mean, you can say a kind of the authority where he has to meet, he has to, I mean, he can have the communicate, he can communicate with a large number of the, okay, who are having the, who have to, I mean, who want to meet with the DG, who have to deal with the DG. All right. So this clerk is basically, this employee is basically is having the more power as compared to the other clerks in the organization who are working in their in different departments. Okay, although they have the same ranks. So if this clerk has to move from this position to this position, so he will feel it as a threat to his position power. Okay, so this kind of the situation, I think this resistance is shown. Similarly, similar to that is the redistribution of the power. Threat to the position power, and next one is the redistribution of the power. Okay, redistribution mean again the changes in his work. Okay, those changes might be change his position power. They might change his, I mean, you can say challenge his skills. They might be, I mean, challengeable for his, I mean, performance. So, so that redistribution so generally implies wide redistribution of the parts. They don't, they avoid accepting new challenge, new assignments, and these kinds. They feel quite good into the existing kind of the work that they are already dealing with, working with, right? Similarly, similar to that, another one is the this social changes in the social network. Changes in social, you can say the setup, or you can say the network. Social networks mean his, I mean, his implies communication with the people around him. Okay, so that creates a kind of a situation for him where he feels himself quite accommodated. He has accommodated himself according to that. Okay, he feels that he has earned one word that is generally used by the employees, by the people. He has earned this position. He has earned this place. Okay, he has earned this honor. Okay, he has earned this respect. Okay, because why? How he has earned these all these things? because he has spent time with these people, he has spent time dealing with these people, he has spent time understanding these people. Okay, so this situation where he is working right now, he has the people around him who understand him quite well, so they are quite supportive with him, and he is also, I mean, a kind of a situation where he feels very strong, I mean, a very, I mean, you can say, comfortable position. So when the changes might occur, so might be this network, this social network might change. New people might come in the form of the bosses or in the form of the colleague, or you move to the new group. Okay, so there might be the risk of the redistribution of the social network. So again, these new situations are might challenge his norms. They might challenge his, you can say, the values. He might challenge his, you can say, the culture. Okay. So these are the number of reasons that are these are the forces that you can say are put the resistance. And for the OD practitioner, organizational development agent, he has to understand, he should have the clear understanding about these things, and he should have the ability that how to overcome these things, how to overcome this resistance, and what are the techniques, what are the things. So for this, two topics left. One is the what are the strategies, and number two, what is the life cycle of resistance to change that I've shown you in the beginning of the lecture. We will be discussing that in our coming lecture. So another thing that need to be discussed here is the, if I just draw it here, take you. So these driving and the restraining forces, okay, they act in the kind of a tandem. Okay, if you just say take the small stick and just bend it and just leave it, so it start oscillating, all right, to and fro. So that kind of a thing. What it means is, if their driving forces are stronger, then this resistance will be there. These forces will be minimized. They will be reduced. If they are higher, this will be low. Okay, it's not possible that the driving forces are also strong and resistance is also, it's not possible. So it acts in tandem. So generally the word we say these forces, these driving and restraining forces act in tandem, to and fro. If one rises, other reduces, and other rises, other rises, the second one is reduces. So that's it for all today. So the topic is that we have discussed is the nature of the resistance to change program. So still we have the few topics to be discussed that will be discussed in the coming lecture. So these are the 2 points that will that will be the topic of our. So thank you very much. That's it for today.